My next guest is a professional boxer, mixed martial artist, and a fight promoter. It's not every day I get to talk to somebody from my own backyard, but we're going to do it today. He is one of the most important fighters that you need to know about in the state of Virginia, and he joins me right now. His name is Chris the Rocket Rollins. Chris, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to talk to a fellow Virginian.
What's up, my man? I appreciate you having me on. I know we tried to get together a while back, but just schedule's been busy. I'm happy we got it done.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Well, Chris, first and foremost about you, you're a unique guy. You're a mixed martial artist, you're a boxer, and you're a promoter, like all in one. You are fighting on the same card that you're promoting that happens at Rocket Combat Sports 14
Yeah.
later on this month. And how the heck are you planning out a card and preparing at the same time?
Yeah. I asked myself, I've done it 2 times before, and this I was like, I'll never do it again, but here I am. You basically to go back to the beginning of the promotion, I had a fight on it as well to try to get it lifted off the ground. And this is probably the last time that I fight on my show. It's just becoming it's just too hard. I have a small team, it's like me and one other partner doing everything. So I want to do this one close to home, have my 2 kids there, and kind of, just I want to build the show bigger and bigger. And I'm a fighter. I take care of the fighters. I'm a fighter first, so I've been around a lot of states fighting as a professional. So I fought in 12 different states. I've fought for some good people, some bad people. So I just try to learn from everywhere I go and just try to give back.
I called you one of the most important fighters and one of the most important people in the MMA game in Virginia for a reason. And anyone who's familiar with where we're from, like MMA really isn't like a huge thing out here. Like I can think
Not
of,
at all.
including your promotion, I can think of like one other off the top of my head. What led you to create RCS?
It was just something I always thought about doing, and I kind of started thinking about it. And like you said, there's not much going on, and if you're a good fighter, you can beat anybody. But early on in your pro careers, not just Virginia guys, North Carolina, anything, anybody local, it's hard when you have to go fight, in somebody's backyard like I did. I took a bunch of hard fights, going to Philadelphia, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and fighting these guys. And if you're good, you can beat them. But it's like, it needs to be the right time. You need to have a platform we can build slowly and progress. And I just want to try to give the guys, the up and coming guys, the opportunity, to build 2, 3, 4 fights before they take that next step, before they get on a contender or something like that.
From the fight game, you see both sides of it. You have experienced it as a fighter, but then also as a promoter. And oftentimes we'll hear promoters be like, oh, these fighters, man, they're a pain to deal with. And then we hear from the fighters, oh, these
Yeah.
promoters, they're a pain to deal with. And I kind of wanted to
Yes,
ask you, seeing the game from both sides of it, is there anything that you know from your promotional experience that you wish you knew as a fighter and vice versa?
I kind of wish I was a little bit smarter. Sometimes you need that person to tell you, maybe this is not the smart fight for you right now, or whatever. But I've learned. I thought the biggest mistake that I made when I went into promoting, I thought everybody was like me. I was just naive about it, I guess. I've never missed weight in my career. I've never pulled out of a fight. I've always done all my medicals, and it's like some fighters just like you gotta like stay on them constantly to get the medicals in to get these things done. I never believe the fight's gonna happen. There's a lot of hurdles you gotta jump through to get the fights done before you even get to the financial things.
The logistics and everything that goes behind what you do to get these things off the ground,
Oh,
the licensing, getting people from the commission to show up, getting a bond, getting a venue. Like these are all things that, number one, take a lot of time to line up. And also a lot of money goes into like making sure these cards kick off. And is there like a story that you could share, like of all the cards, of all the 14 events that you've put on, is there one that stands out in your mind as like the most difficult?
I would say that so during the COVID in 2020, so everything was shut down. So 21, we're like, hey, we want to go, but Virginia was locked down, so we went to South Carolina. And we did our first show there. It went great. And we started our pay-per-view platform. And this we said what we're going to do because the Virginia fans are going to come. So during that time, we get the pay-per-view thing. And then our second show in South Carolina, the day before, the doctor texts, because in every state's different the way they do things. Like Virginia, they'll provide the doctor, but when you go to South Carolina, you have to get everything individually. So the doctor texts the day before the fight, and she's like, "Hey, I got a moving company coming. I'm not going to make it to the show." And we're like, you have to be there because without a doctor, we're not going to have a show. So we have all this money on the line, fighters from all over here. And then she ended up showing up late to the fights. She showed up, then you couldn't start. She did physicals for every fighter. And we had people hitting the pay-per-view up saying, "Hey, when's the fight starting?" So that was probably the craziest thing I've had so far. Because it's like we set up the show, like you were saying earlier, it's checks and balances things. Like we run the show, but when the show starts, it's the commission. It's I have to bond. I have to pay every. So in Virginia, we do programs every time, so that costs me double money because the state DPR they don't oversee amateur fighting, so I pay them a separate fee, and I have to pay another fee for the amateurs. So it's like Rocket Combat Sports. Myself, we run the show, but once the shows get going, you have EMS there, security. They're on time and a half getting paid a bondsman. I mean, it just continues. So like some of my friends, they'll come and they'll see, man, you're killing it. I'm like, hey, everybody here is getting paid right now. They're not here just hanging out.
And that's one of the things that I wished I knew when I first started covering MMA, like all the things, all the
Yeah,
hoops that you have to jump through to make these events what they are. It's not easy to do. But we're going to shift gears here. We're going to talk more about you fighting specifically, and less the promotional side of it. I
yeah,
think of you, and you're a person that's been in MMA, in combat sports for a very long time. And you most recently competed at Cage Thunder 20, and you fought a guy named Drew Schottenheimer. You were able to take him out of there in the very first round. But you had to work for it a little bit. It was kind of a fight that
yeah.
I thought you did enough to get him out of there a little bit earlier. But the fight ends up going on maybe a little bit longer than you thought it would. What are some of your key takeaways from the Schottenheimer fight?
And like I said, I went out there, shout out to them. They treated me really well. I was going to his backyard, Ohio main event. So I knew I was going to have to, you know, put some extra work in to get him out of there because he's the local guy, or whatever. But like you said, you seen the fight and couple like I kind of looked at the ref once or twice. I'm like, hey man, I'm like I'm hitting clean shots on this guy and it's still going, but I don't know how many unanswered strikes I threw, but it was a lot. I was like, but he was a tough. I kind of felt bad, but I'm like, hey, it's kill or be killed when you're in there, so I'm going to fight until they pull you off. So it went well for me. I wasn't planning on taking that fight, and they kind of hit me up, and I was like, "Hey, we go ahead and do it." I'm always in shape, ready to fight, but I was glad to go in there and get it done because I took 3 years, 8 months away from fighting from MMA and had been boxing, so I came back last August. So this will be my in 2 weeks. This will be my third fight in 11 months back in MMA. So I'm gonna make it 3 fights in a row with 3 finishes. Since I was boxing for the last 3 years before that with some big cards against some really really good guys. So I just feel like coming back from the boxing ring now, like my just my distance, my hands, and I got my kicks, I got everything. I was still doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling the whole time, helping my guys get ready. So I just feel like I'm 33, but I'm just seeing things now. It's just like everything's clicking together.
Well, you're on a run right now. You go on the
Yeah.
boxing circuit, and since you've come back from boxing, you've been undefeated in MMA. And that was one of the
Mhm.
questions, Chris, I had for you. Do you see the game different having been in the ring against like high level boxers? Like, does that make you change how you see?
Yeah, because like people, they're always debating like who's boxers won't come fight us, us or whatever. But it's like to even land a punch, like the casual fan, to land a punch on a really good boxer is harder than people think. To even win rounds at that level is very, very hard. And I was on Showtime. I fought Evan Holyfield, which was Amanda's son. He was 9-0. Was on the Jake Paul undercard when he fought Woodley the second time in Florida. I won rounds there. I mean, the judges didn't see it my way, but just to know I'm winning rounds against these guys that've been boxing their whole life really put my confidence up there. I'm never happy with the loss, but I knew I belonged. And I went out to California a couple of times, trained with the Nate Diaz's guys and all them guys, and it just made my confidence grow even more. Just mixing up with some really high level fighters and winning rounds at that level.
July 22nd, you'll be re-entering the cage, RCS 14. Your opponent, his name is, I hope I say his name right, Travis Karpinian. Karpinen. I hope I said it right. I may have gotten it screwed up, but
Yep.
yeah, no disrespect to
Yeah, I think that's
Travis.
right. Yeah.
Tough kid. What do you make of your opponent, and what do you need to do to get a win over this guy?
Yeah, I respect him for taking the fight. My team, we reached out to quite a few people. A lot of people said no. I'm not saying they're scared of me, just timing wasn't right or whatever. And then we were kind of getting desperate, like, dang, we're going to get a guy. And then he said, hey, he's down to fight. He's coming off a first round knockout. I didn't really watch much tape on him, to be honest. I try not to do that. I just let my guys look at him. I'm just trying to be prepared for the best version of him. I know he's pretty excited to come in my hometown on my show. His chance to come in and steal the show. So I know he's coming hard. I think he's coming hard the first round. I think so. I just got to be ready. But I'm ready for 5 rounds. Just a 5 round fight, and I can push the pace for all the five. But I know I'm gonna get him out there before then. But early on, I know he's coming to take me out, so I'll be ready.
How exciting is it for you though, Chris? Like knowing that, it's a big fight, it's for a title. You're going to be fighting in the area that you're from, and you know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going out specifically because you are fighting and they want to watch you perform. Like, what is it that you want all those people that bought a ticket, everyone who's showing out on the night of the 22nd? What do you want them to know before they sit down and munch on their popcorn and watch you fight?
Yeah, I just, like you were saying, the area where, especially where I'm from, a small town, is like people is unheard of. So I have my gym here in town, and it's like I'm just trying to make a change and make it normal. I got kids that are training there, they're looking up to me, and I've been competing since I was 4 years old. So 29 years, I've never been stopped competing as an athlete. Played basketball, where the fights at, just like longevity. And so I'm like, never give up. I've had setbacks, I've lost, I've been on some big things, I've done a lot and I never gave up. And I just want to. That's why I want to show my kids like all these things. I'm still here, still pushing forward. I just want to let them know that you can do anything. And it's cliche. People say that a lot, but I really mean that. Like,
Still going indeed, and much respect to you, Chris, and your team for putting on the shows that you put on. It's very important for our area, and it's nice to see that somebody from the area is having the success that they're having, because it's not easy to fight, and it sure as heck isn't easy to put on these shows that you're putting on. So thank you for everything that you do, and on behalf of all the other fighters in this area, I'm sure they really appreciate you and your team and what you guys are all about. Are you still selling tickets for this event? Can people
yeah,
purchase tickets from you, or can they watch your pay per view? What's going on that end?
yeah. People, you can get tickets from some of the fighters have them. You can go to rocketcombatsport.com and go on there and buy tickets. And if you know the fighters, you can scroll down for the professionals and buy it under their name so they can get credit for that. That helps them make a little bit more money. Our pay-per-view streams through StarFund, starfund.app. They're growing pretty big. They do, I like their platform. We were one of the first ones to get with them. I see a lot of other shows have kind of joined it now, but if everything sticks together, on paper, things look good. But I think we got 10 amateur fights and 5 pro fights, with 15 fights scheduled. This from top to bottom, I can honestly say everybody says a card is loaded, but has a lot of talent. I just got done sparring today. I went up north for a little bit and did some sparring. So there's a lot of cross training. There was like 5 or 6 guys that are on the card up there sparring today. I mean, it's a lot of talent on this card, and I'm excited to see it after I fight. That's one thing when I'm fighting, I miss a lot of it. So we'll do the pros first. It starts at 6 p.m. So it's rocketcombatsport.com. You can go to Rocket Combat Sports on Instagram, Facebook. We post everything on there as well. You see the fight card and everything.
And ladies and gentlemen, that will happen later on this month, July 22nd. Make sure you tune in for that. And Chris, I appreciate your time this afternoon. And I want to give you the final word, sir. If there's anyone that you would like to thank, or if there are any sponsors or whatever that you need to talk about, let's do it before you go.
Yeah, I appreciate you just always putting the word out there, trying to grow the sport. I respect that a lot. You're a grinder. Just trying to get bigger and bigger, get your platform bigger. I'm all about that. And I'm just doing the same. And we all got to work together. There's a lot of haters in the game. I'm not one of them. I want to see people do well. I want to see people, grow past my show and go. And I see a lot of false narratives where promotions are like, "Hey, we put this guy on the UFC." I'm like, you give them a platform, their coaches and their hard work puts them there. So I'm just giving them a platform, and I don't ever want to take from them if they go to Contender or Bellator or UFC. I'm like, I'm cool, I was a part of that, but I'm not putting them in there. And I think a lot of people get that. Well, this promotion is putting these guys in the UFC. Is like, no, your work does that. We're just giving you the platform, and I want to give guys the platform and be fair. I'm a fighter first. I've been there. I've never, anything I ask the guys to do, I've done it. I go out there, I spar with these different people. So we always kind of laugh. Like, it's not often you get to punch a promoter in the face. So we spar, and just the guys respect me. And, they know that I'm kind of like, they kind of call me like the cowboy of Virginia, because I fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. It might not be the best way to be, but that's the way I was always done it. And I just, it feels good to be respected by all the fighters and stuff, and just, just earned it the hard way. And I'm excited for this show and for the future. We got some big things in the works, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Chris.